Good day, everybody. This is your girl, Brenda. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. So, today is going to be an interesting topic. It's called self abuse. Self abuse to me is when you um, deliberately um, deliberately harm yourself, and it's where you mistreat yourself deliberately. Deliberately, but not deliberately. Hey, real quick, guys. I know my cousin has to go to work, so let me bring her. Let me try to bring her on. It's accepted. Let's try this, y'all. Try this again. So, self abuse is when I have harmed myself, either intentionally or unintentionally. Linda, accept that. There you go. Hey, everybody. This is my cousin Linda, and I told him bringing her live, whether she want to come alive, because she has a testimony that is just so powerful, and she's one of my inspirations, like to keep going and be authentic with yourself and be honest with yourself. So, cuz, how are you doing today?
All is well. How are you
I'm
doing?
doing great. So today's topic is self abuse, and reason why I
Mm,
reason why I titled it, well, reason why God titled it self abuse is because sometimes we take advantage of God's grace, and
hmm
we so busy pointing the finger of who hurt us and what they did to us and how they did to us, but we never honest about what we did to ourselves. And
correct.
so I know you are on lunch, so I just want to grab your thoughts real quick because I watched you on Facebook when you was at TD Jakes church and you gave your testimony of where God brought you from, and you was so
hmm
real and so honest. You know what I'm saying? And I know people don't like honesty because honesty make people, I can't believe you said that. But I think we're overcome by the words of our testimony. And I think your testimony
Yes.
is can be a blessing to somebody right now. So while you on break real quick, can I borrow you real quick and just go
A
for it.
little bit of my
Just
testimony.
go for how
Mm,
how we're
mm.
just go. I'm just gonna let you go.
But Brenda, when I look back, I do thank God for our foundation, being raised up in the Pentecostal church, because it taught me how to fast, to
Hmm.
pray. And you all know that losing my mommy at the age of 14 was one of the most hurtful things that I've been through. And then we take roads, like you said, to
Right.
self-inflict um, drugs. For me, it was drugs. I thank God I've been clean, saved, and delivered 22 years from crack cocaine. I have no shame in my
Wow.
game. Lost everything and found the Lord. I see a couple of people on here like Frank Hammerder. I used to be sister-in-law, Tony,
Hmm.
and they know where the Lord has brought me from. But I thank God that when He restore you, unless we talk about it, you won't know where the Lord has brought me
That's
from.
true.
Um, I thank Him. And like I said, when I went to TD Jakes, you brought that up. And I was just beginning to think about where He really brought me from, being clean, saved, and delivered in my right mind. He began to restore me. And I was in Oklahoma for 20 years. I just made the move to Dallas. And when I say He opened doors that need to be open and closed doors that need to be closed, and He just kept telling me to walk in obedience to His
Hmm.
word. So when I tell you I haven't slept with anybody's husband or wife in 22 years, as crazy as it
That's
sounds, God is a
powerful. That's
keeper,
powerful.
God is a provider. He has done everything. When I came out of here, I came on faith.
Right.
I didn't know coming into these folks drive so crazy in Texas. Thank God, but 91 Psalms, He's protected daily, and I'm excited what He's doing in my
Hmm.
life. I'm excited what He's doing in my son's life. Last year, when we talk about self-inflicted, but I was just beginning to think about some things my son was going through last year, and this might not be the time, but I feel led to say it.
It's your platform.
He came out to visit me.
Hmm.
and he came out to make changes in his life. Girl, he wasn't here 30 days when the Lord set him down. And so when I say set him down, he had to go to jail, which led him to prison. Now he's out. And for me to see my only son, 40, only son, now going to church with me on Sundays,
Wow.
now paying his tithes. I tell the devil, no weapon formed shall prosper. I'm sold out.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
persuaded to go all the way with the no matter what's going on in my life at this point. I thank God for even you sharing your testimony the other day. You know, we don't never know unless somebody open their mouth, and we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. I was at getting my nails done the other day, and I was sitting there sharing my testimony with a young lady, and the lady said, "Baby, my son is in prison.
Wow.
My daughter's on drugs." And so she said, "I'm so glad you as a Christian are not scared to say what thus saith the Lord in your life."
Right.
So it blesses me to be bold in my walk and in my talk when it comes to sharing of God's good. I see another sister here, my sister-in-law, Rashonda. I love her because she's real. And I thank God for the realness. The truth is what set me free. So when we go to somebody, just be real about what's going on, because people need to know what God has done for us. It gives them hope.
Right.
Because it gives me hope knowing that God came in and turned my life around when I was losing everything. I lost the job. I lost the house. But I found Jesus and I've got my life back.
That's what's up.
So all this stuff, I don't care about stuff no more. God keeps on blessing me to be a blessing.
Wow.
And I'm grateful. I'm forever grateful, even for the opportunity that you give me right now to just let one person know that he's still healing, he's still delivering, he's still keeping. And like you said, a lot of time it's self-inflicted. We'll look at everybody else, but nobody put a gun in my head.
Right. That is so true.
But once I got out of it, I even sing that, you know, where he let me see myself. Because we want to blame. But I thank God for deliverance. I thank God for healing. I know the best is yet to come in my life and yours. All we got to do is continue to trust and obey. There is no other way to be happy.
Right.
I love his word. Where I was reading the other day, I was talking to a sister, and I told her, I said, girl, you know what came back to me? Isaiah, the 40th chapter, starting about the 28th verse, said, has thou not known? Has thou not heard?
Yes.
The God, the creator of the end earth, he ain't tripping. We the one tripping. Either we're going to trust him or we ain't going to trust him. You can't worry and trust him at the same time. I know him to be a keeper. I know him to be a mother. I know him to be family when family don't want to be family. Let's just keep it real. Through it all, I learned to trust my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Man, that's so powerful. You know, that's so powerful because, you know, when everybody else walk out of your life, like God is still faithful, even in our mess. God is still faithful. You know what I'm saying?
He said, yet while I was a sinner, he did what he did for me before I even made it.
He knew you when you was in your mother's womb.
Before you made the decision, he loved me back. And I thank him for that. I thank him for keeping my son when he was out there in the streets. I thank him for the change that I see in him now. I thank my mother for praying for me. Lost her at 14, but she left prayer. Prayer never dies.
Never. Like, I'm still living off of my mom's and my grandmother's prayers. Like, I'm still, sometimes, like, when I get, like, at my lowest, it's like I can feel my grandmother, my mom's prayers just, like, covering over me. Like, those prayers don't never die. We may die, but those prayers never die.
Those prayers, they go on.
Wow, that's so powerful. I appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate you for your authentic, and I appreciate you for being honest and real. Because people, if we just help one person, just one person, like that one person can find Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And that's, you know, I'm not doing this just to be seen. I'm doing this just so God can get the glory.
To help, like you said, help one person.
Just one person.
Because I thank God for the ones that was in my life back then before I got my deliverance. Because the devil he talks to us. He wanted to shame me. And, you know, I was hearing his voice, but I heard God's voice. I said, devil, I don't care if I don't never get another dime. I'm walking it out. First year, had no car, had no place to stay. But God. But I know him in suffering. I know him in loss. I know him, that he's a healer, a keeper, a provider. When you go through different
Hmm.
things, that's why we have these experiences, because he showed himself mighty in it. And I thank
I
him.
appreciate you. I appreciate you for just sharing your testimony. It's yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
I see another one of my brothers just came on. Oscar,
hey.
be blessed. Hopefully your mother's doing well. Yes. Thank
I
you.
love you, cuz.
Cuz we'll
I love
talk.
you. I know you gotta go back to work. I'm praying for you. I'm waiting to see what else God's gonna do for you. So keep your head up, cuz.
You keep looking up, because the best is yet to come in your life also,
Thank you.
cuz. Don't
Thank you.
play.
All right. I know you don't
Bye-bye.
know how to hang up, so I'm gonna hang up on you. All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, guys. So that was my cousin Linda, and I love her because and she's so real. She's so real about her honesty, her testimony, and we are overcome by the words of our testimony. And in dealing with self-abuse for so many years, I have blamed people, and I remember I am who I am, and I'm very honest, and I try to be very honest in my walk and in my talk. Like I'm very transparent, and I think this is where God wants me to be, and because uh, I can't even blame it on abuse, but because of what I grew up with, and that's been sexual abuse, that I became a sexual addiction. I had a sexual addiction to where it spiraled out of control to where I couldn't control it because my body was craving something that I didn't know how to control. So that's self abuse. You know what I'm saying? And I self destruct almost, but because of the grace of God, God kept me to where I am. I'm delivered from that addiction of being sexual, very sexual active. You know what I'm saying? So that came with a lot of other stuff because I have some keynotes. What made me self destruct? I think what made me self destruct is because I didn't know how to express myself, or I didn't know how to, or I did not have the tools to live, or the tools to survive, or the tools to deal with what was at hand with me. So I think that was a part of my self abuse. And then another part was when I lost my daughter. A lot of y'all may know I was in a car accident in 1998. I was in an automobile accident to where somebody hit me, and my daughter got killed. And you're very welcome, cuz. Thank you, thank you. Um, she got killed, and I didn't know how to handle that because I felt like, God, really, really, you gonna do this to me? I'm very active in the church. I'm serving on this ministry, serving on that ministry. So God, you really gonna do this? You're gonna take my daughter out of everybody else's kid. You're gonna take my daughter, and I didn't know how to handle that. I was numb. I have a house full of kids, and my kids are hurting. My kids are cut up and had stitches. Having nightmares. So it was a very bad car accident to where everybody got hurt. Everybody. It was me and all my kids, and we all got hurt. So I had to be strong for them, but there was nightmares. That was anger, nightmares, frustration. Not to mention I was homeless. And to be honest, I was leaving one hotel to go to another hotel because it was cheaper that day. So I was basically living in my car, me and my family. And I remember the conversation that I had, with my husband at that time was, you're going to stop picking an argument with me because one day you're going to pick an argument and we can't come back from it. Something's bad is going to happen. And let me just be transparent and go all the way back, probably like 2 years prior to that. I kept, God had told me to prepare myself because he was going to take one of my kids. Well, a lot of y'all know that my oldest son, Brandon, had chronic asthma. So I had prepared, honestly, for him because the doctor had said his lungs couldn't take it no more. Like he had just, he only got one lung because he don't have so many asthma attacks, and he had just collapsed at school, and the doctor said he just can't handle it no more. And so in him not handle, you know, I'm like, okay, so God's gonna take my oldest son. Well, a month prior, no, 2 months prior to my daughter passing, um, she had got real sick. And the doctor was saying, she had this and she had that. And I'm like, how did she do that? It was just too much. And Ari was dealing with one sick child. He spent most of his childhood, like probably about 95% of his childhood in a hospital. And when about 2 months after the doctor told me that my daughter that passed, that she had gotten real sick, and I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to, what to do about that. And in doing that, I said, okay, but God had already told me 2 years ago that he was going to take them. Then I started having dreams. The dreams that I was in a car accident and, this happened. And I only thing I remember about the dream is, me waking up saying, I shall not die but live to declare the works of the Lord in the land of the living, to now. Well, when I had the accident, I was surprised that my daughter got killed. I was very surprised. The car accident was really, really bad. It was me and 5 kids that was in, was it 5? Yeah, 5 kids that was in a car, and everybody got hurt. It just they lifelined the people. So, I was angry at God. I was very angry at God because I did not know that she had passed. I kept telling my mom, count heads, count heads, count heads. And my mom started counting heads, kept counting heads, and she got stuck. It's like, Mom, count heads again, count heads again. And when they asked me, because I was knocked unconscious, it was a bad accident. So, when I got to, they asked me, could I stand? I was like, yeah, I can stand. So I stood, and they took me in this room. And when they took me in this room, I had my mom and a couple other people. My favorite auntie, Aunt Roberta. Today is her anniversary that she's been gone away from me. Like, she was my biggest mentor. So when I remember they told us that my daughter had passed. And I was overwhelmed. And I was like, why? Why? But then she was at another hospital, so that made me like angry. Like, God, how can you? Why is she at this hospital? Why ain't she here with everybody else? But it was the best trauma hospital. They tried to do hard. They tried everything to revive her, but it was just not good. So I went to while they was telling me that she had passed, they said Code Blue in room 5. Code Blue in room 5 was with my oldest daughter, and she had just wiped out. But they was able to revive her. But then they end up letting me go to the other hospital later, just to go. I had to, pronounce that was my child. Pronounce her dad. Y'all know how it goes. I remember walking with a couple people, and I began to worship God because God had already prepared me for it. And I remember just raising my hands and just speaking in tongues and just worshiping God because she wasn't suffering. Even though I had lost her, she wasn't suffering. But nobody understood that. They thought I was just going crazy. But God had already prepared me for it. And after that, I went through the whole shebang of grieving with the death, getting the kids in counseling, to where I didn't want to counsel. I became angry at God. So that started with I cannot sexual addict myself. So let me try sleeping pills. Let me try pain pills. So that became my addiction. So that's where the self abuse came in. I started abusing myself because I needed the pills to numb out the accident because I could not remember the accident. I could not remember what happened. I could not remember. To this day, I still don't remember. All I remember is looking over my shoulder and she had her head down. Like, it's only so much that I can remember of the accident. Now, my kids can remember everything, but unfortunately, I was knocked unconscious. So, to numb that aftermath, I began to self medicate myself, and that led to almost a destruction. I remember coming home and my pastor was sitting on my steps, and I didn't want to serve God no more. Like, yeah, I did not want to serve God no more because I was like, I'm not doing this because God shouldn't have did make that call. That call was crazy. Like, sometimes we feel like when God make a call in our life, it's crazy. God, I don't want to deal with that call. That call is crazy. I don't want to deal with God with that call. So my pastor was sitting on my steps, and he was like, okay. I was like, man, I'm not going to church. I don't want to hear it. And he was like, okay, I'll just sit here. So he sat there. Like, I left him sitting out there. I just went in the house and shut the door. And he didn't give up on me. Like, he did not give up. He kept praying for me. And he kept praying for me. Into, like, 2 years after that, almost 2 years after that, one of my kids got real sick, and I had to rush her to the hospital. And when I rushed her to the hospital, they told me she had leukemia. So I'm angry. I mean, I'm even more angry at God now because, like, God, how do you take one of my kids and now you got me with a kid with cancer? I'm done. I'm done, God. I don't want to pray no more. I don't want to fast no more. I'm done. And that led to more pain pills because it's like, I'm just don't. I just don't want to deal no more. But my mom prayed, and my mom kept praying, and she kept praying, and she kept praying for me. I didn't even want to deal with my family, like I just did, because it was just too much. It was just too much. But one day, I realized that I don't want this addiction. I have to deal with this. Even though I had everybody in counseling, we going to counseling like every week, I started dealing with me. And in dealing with me, I learned some stuff about me. It's like there was trigger points to where either I'm going to self-destruct, because I told God, I said, God, why did you leave us alive? Why come you just didn't kill us all? Like, this is just me being honest with you. Like, why come you just didn't leave us? Why didn't you just kill all of us? Then we don't have to deal with all this pain afterwards. Because the afterwards pain I think, is greater than what just happened. And that is just, that is just, the aftermath is greater. So, in doing that, I thank God because I had a praying mother that kept praying. Like, I ain't want to deal with my mother. My mother be like, I'm praying for you. Be like, Mom, stop. I'd be like, stop. Like, I didn't want to go around her because her first thing was, I'm praying for you. And anybody know my mother, she's very quiet. But when she say she doing something, she doing something. Not only did she kept praying for me, but my auntie, Aunt Roberta, kept praying for me. And every now and then, like wee hours in the morning, I get a phone call, and it was Auntie. And she'd be like, where did y'all? I'd be like, hey, Auntie. She'd be like, I'm just praying for you. And I'd be like, thank you, Auntie, for praying for me. I couldn't just tell her, stop. But Aunt Roberta just kept praying for me and kept praying for me to where I didn't understand that call that God had made on my life. Like, God, how can you take my kid when I'm serving you, when I'm doing things right, when I'm trying to live right? God, how can you? How dare you make that call on my life? Let's just be honest. I asked God, how dare you make that call on my life? So that led me to so many self-destruction things. And I can't tell you what day it was or what time it was, but one day I woke up and I said, no more. I will not self-destruct myself anymore. I will not self-destruct. I'm done. I'm done with that. I'm done with self-destruct. Like, you have to take control of your own life. You have to, because if you don't take control of your own life, nobody's responsible for you but you. Even though my mother was praying for me, and my auntie was praying for me, and my grandmother was praying for me, I'm still responsible for me. I have to take control of